Okay, so here are my initial thoughts in response to the Speaking in Tongues video. So we had to look at various perspectives from four different groups: the mainstream America, politicians, teachers, and parents. And the one thing that I saw running throughout is the lack of uniformity within each of those groups. So you have within mainstream America their ideas of bilingual education are divided. There's some support and others who do not. So there's major support, I should say. San Francisco Unified uh, supported bilingual education. That's a huge school district. It's hardly inconsequential, so it's not the norm. But the fact that such a massive school district is in support of this program uh, proves that it's not some type of fluke. You do have opposition um, amongst some, and I would argue that it would be easy to label Red America as being anti-bilingual, but then again, I think you have pockets within even the reddest of states that still want to see bilingual education taught. I know that this is occurring in Texas, an arguably red state. Um, so again, I don't think there's any kind of consensus. I think that there's a sharp divide. But mainstream America, it would be hard to pigeonhole it. I think it's too divided. Same with politicians. You saw Gavin Newsom walking through the Chinese immersion school when he was mayor of San Francisco. He's now the governor of the largest state in the union, population-wise. Um, you know, Presidents come from California, so he's a major politician. He's in support of this. But then you have other politicians who are clearly opposed. President Trump has made a political career based on this. So I did find it ironic, and it shows you how shifting these types of alliances will be. California led the way back in the 1980s under Pete Wilson for the adoption of English only laws under Prop 187. So it is interesting that a place like California was actually a trendsetter when it came to English only laws. I think the same divide can be seen within the teachers. The teachers in the video were all quite supportive, but then again, they were working at a school where their skills were valued. I think teachers in other districts and other schools would certainly feel threatened, given that in order to remain competitive, they would have to devote all kinds of time and resources, something that's just exceedingly difficult once you get into a career picking up something like a second language and being proficient in it, being able to instruct in it. So a lot of teachers are would be threatened. Um, and then the same divide theme occurred with parents, um, which was a sensed a deep irony there. Many of the native-born Americans various ethnic backgrounds were very interested in having their son or daughter learn a second language. And these were parents who were not bilingual themselves. And then surprisingly, the immigrant families who could not speak English terribly well didn't want their parent or didn't want their kids learning either Spanish or Chinese. They wanted them learning more of English, which kind of you heard the President Barack Obama mention in a short clip in there how most immigrants will end up learning English. So it might be overblown to really worry about immigrants learning English. Um, and so I think that that's kind of, you saw that at play right there. That the parents were very much interested in having their sons and daughters learn English, and were not, they didn't care as much about the native tongue. Um, if I was going to talk to a new administrator to tell them about um, new to ELL, I would emphasize many of the points that we saw in that video, emphasizing that it's now a global economy. Our largest trade partner is China. And not only that, just our economies are interdependent with hundreds of countries. And it will give young people who eventually will get old a competitive advantage if they are bilingual. But I would also cite the science, and that if you are concerned about creating English speakers as quickly as possible, the science shows that if you give them scaffolding and instruction in their native language, they become proficient in English more quickly. So it's serves the exact purpose of people who want people to speak nothing but English here, to give them instruction in their native tongue. Um, and ultimately, I think what you do see that is a constant, aside from the divide, but each of these groups genuinely seemed to want what was best for the children. And so, of course, there's different interpretations about that. But it did seem like at the forefront of everyone's mind, they're thinking about what's best for my son, my daughter, my student, um, and how best to serve them, and in their language learning. And those are my thoughts regarding this video. Thank you.